Hey grade 8s, welcome to your Friday math lesson. So a big part of this math lesson is actually going to be a bit of review. However, we are going to talk a little bit more about integers in algebraic expressions, as well as I'm trying out something new right now where instead of submitting your homework by either printing out and writing on a piece of paper or having to write on a PDF, or typing out your answers and submitting it on the VLE that way, I'm actually trying with a Google form. And the nice thing about the Google form is it will give you instant feedback about how you did on the worksheet. So if you got a question wrong after you submit all the questions, it'll tell you which ones you got wrong, and you can actually go back and change them or try it again until you get it right. So it's something new I'm trying out. The last question on the Google form does say, and it is a required question, how you like it, because I want to find out if this is something that we want to continue doing, or is it something that maybe a majority of you like, but a few of you still really want to do the other worksheets. That's totally fine. So then I can figure out, maybe I just send those worksheets to your emails instead of having it on the VLE and then just doing a Google form link. But that's what I really want to hear from you guys, is how this works out. Just the big benefit of it is just having that instant feedback. And it's kind of nice because then you don't have to wait for me to give you feedback, which I know I've been behind on. So let me know how you guys like it. The good thing about it too is you don't have to necessarily show your work with it. All you have to do is just submit the answers that are correct. And you just type in the number and that's it. So on that note, we're going to start with our review, which is a few questions that we've looked at before and some problems that we've looked at before. With this math lesson today, we're going to be talking about both isolating a variable and figuring out what that variable stands for, or what number that variable is for. And then the other part is where the variable number is given to you and you just have to plug it in to find the answer. So we're going to be doing a little bit of both. We're also going to be talking about how a variable, when you're trying to isolate a variable and balancing an equation, that the variable can be a negative number, or it can be an integer, I should say. So on that note, let's get started with our first few practice questions. So our first question is 12e plus 8 equals negative 40. So the first step for this one is we're trying to isolate that e. In order to do so, I have to move things to the other side of the equal sign. So in this case, the easiest thing for me to move over to the other side of the equal sign is this one right here, because it's on its own. The 12e is attached to one another, so this is why I would usually do a plus or the minus part first, because that's the easiest thing to get rid of. So what I do is I move it over to this side. When it moves over to this side of the problem, it becomes the opposite. So we had to add it here, now I have to subtract it on this side. Okay, so you do the opposite operation. Negative 40 minus 8 equals negative 48. So now I have 12e equals negative 48. My last step is to isolate that e. On this side of the expression, I was multiplying it, so 12 times e. All I have to do now is just do the opposite operation over here, so it becomes division. So now I have negative 48 divided by 12, which equals negative 4. So e equals negative 4. All right. Now here we have negative 8f minus 2 equals negative 50. First step is we have to try to isolate. So easiest one to do is that negative 2, because it's not attached to anything. So it becomes plus 2. So negative 50 plus 2 equals negative 48, because remember, it's a positive 2, so it goes to the right, so that number decreases, or actually increases, I should say, in value. So now I have negative 48. So now I have negative 8f, Now all I have to do is isolate that f. So to do so, I take -8 and I move it over to this side here. As you'll see, that -8 is an integer, it's a negative value. When you bring that negative value to this side of the number line, in this case, it doesn't change into a positive number. It remains a negative number. However, you do the opposite operation. So here I was multiplying that -8. Here I'm going to divide the -8. So I have -48 divided by -8. So it remains an integer, it remains a negative number, but it's an opposite operation. So -48 divided by -8 equals +6, because remember, a negative divided by a negative equals a positive number. So f equals 6. So those are 2 questions where we have to isolate the variable. Now we're going to do 2 questions where you plug in the variable and you find out what the answer is. So we have 3k plus 4 squared. So first thing that we do with these problems, as you guys know, is you plug in your number. So I have 3 in brackets, I have -9. I'm just going to do a double bracket to isolate that integer by itself. I know sometimes it can look a little bit confusing. So actually what I'm going to do right here is I'm just going to do a bigger bracket, just so it looks different. So -9 plus 4, square bracket, and squared. All right, -9 plus 4 equals -5. So I have 3 and then -5 squared. -5 to the power of 2 is my next step. Remember, we have to follow the operations of BEDMAS. So we did the bracket first, now we have to do the exponent. -5 times -5, because remember, exponent, you're multiplying it by itself. -5 times -5, when you're multiplying an integer by, or a negative number by itself, negative times negative equals a positive number. So it equals +25. So now I have 3 times 25. 3 times 25 gives me 75. So the answer to this expression is 75. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to erase this part and just put the answer, just so we have more room for the last question. So our answer is 75. Now this one here, first step, plug in your numbers. So I have 3, 8, c equals 8, minus -4, because d is equal to -4 squared over -1. So first step is, we don't have brackets, we do have an exponent though. So I have to do -4 to the power of 2. So -4 times -4 equals +16. I'm actually just going to continue this over here. So 3 bracket 8 minus 6, whoops, I just realized what I did there. Minus 16. So over -1, 3 times 8 equals 24, minus 16 over -1. 24 minus 16 equals 8. It's +8 divided by -1, which equals -8. Because remember, positive divided by a negative equals a negative. So our answer to this one here, I'm just going to erase this and write it out nicely so it looks a little less clustered, is -8. And there we go. So those are 4 kind of review, kind of new questions. We're going to do 2 more on this slide right here. And then you guys will be off to go. So we have 4m minus 37 equals -28. So we have to figure out what this m value is. To do so, I have to isolate it. First step, Well, it's going to be hard to isolate that 4. Easiest one to do first is minus 37. So now I have negative 28 plus 37 because we do the opposite operation now, which equals, I'm just going to write it over here, 4m equals negative 28 plus 37 is equal to positive 9. Because remember, it was a plus a positive number, so you go to the right. So that means that negative 28 increased in value. So now we have to isolate the m. So m, and then we bring it over here. It was timesing it. We were multiplying it on this side. Now we do the opposite, which is dividing. So now I have 9 divided by 4. So m is equal to 2.25. So sometimes your values will have a decimal value. All right. Now let's do this last part here. So we're dealing with decimals in this case. Same rules still apply. You follow the same steps. The only difference is now you're using decimals. So now I have negative 23. Easiest one to move over first is that plus 2.6, because that's going to be much harder to isolate first off, so it's easier to do this one first. So I have negative 23 minus 2.6 because I do the opposite operation. And now I have negative 25.6 because I did a negative number minus a positive. It makes the number lower in value. And now I have 3.2g. So last step is isolate the g. So g equals, it was timesing it on this side, that 3.2. I bring it over to this side and it becomes division. So negative 25.6 divided by negative 3.2 equals negative 8. So in this case, our variable had a negative value. And that's that. So first thing you have to do is isolate that second, is to isolate the variable, is to take care of the outlier. Once you've taken care of that outlier, then you can do your multiplication or division to isolate the variable by itself. And that's essentially it. So let me know how you guys like that Google form. If it works well and people really like it, we can continue doing it from then on. I think you guys will like it also because you have that instant feedback and you have the instant answers to tell you if it's right or wrong. And you can also go back and try out the problems again until you do, if you got it wrong, and you can try out the problems again until you get the right answer. Let me know how you guys like it. I hope you have a fantastic weekend. My other little homework assignment for you guys this weekend is, if you can, find yourself a half an hour or an hour, hopefully, to just do something fun for yourselves. Do something that you have been meaning to do during quarantine that maybe you haven't gotten around to yet. So for example, me, as you guys know, I am basically a grandma. I really like knitting, and I haven't gotten around to doing any of that since we've gone into quarantine, since we've done the stay-at-home thing. And that is my mission at some point in time, is to do something fun for myself that I really enjoy. So that's the mission I want to put on you guys, is do something fun for yourselves that you enjoy doing. And I will see you guys Monday. Let me know how you like the Google form. Also, I love hearing from you guys, hearing how you all are doing. I miss you all so much. I miss being in our classroom, but it's what it is right now. And otherwise, I am happy that I get to continue teaching you, at least in this way. So have a great weekend, and I'll see you on Monday.